Hey Saints. Well, I wasn't even sure I was going to do a video today, but I'm just thinking it's getting really close. Um, so I thought I'd just put my thoughts out there, even though they're not new. It's just everything keeps ratcheting up. So today I saw reference to this situation: Russian warships and naval assets sailing through Bosphorus Strait as Turkey is frightened. And this is on the heels of, Russia's brought in some of their heavy bombers and all that into Syria. And, they already have the S-400s and everything. Things are just ratcheted up seemingly to the nth degree. Um, and that was followed by the U.S. to send nuclear-capable B-52s to bomb ISIS, supposedly. I mean, at some point, it's becoming ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, how much military hardware does it take to take out, is it 50,000? I don't know what the count is. They keep slaughtering a bunch, and I know they keep recruiting a bunch, but most of the recruiting is actually down in Libya now, as I understand it, which was it the UK and France are loading up, you know, weapons and troops and stuff ready for a Libyan invasion. But I think it's clear now. Let me put out my opinion. You can agree, you can disagree, but ISIS was stoked up. I don't want to say totally manufactured because I think the Shia Sunni division is age old and there's a natural hate. And I think you guys have seen a bunch of my videos. I looked at some of the military or the think tank strategy documents that that our government uses, some of those think tanks, and the strategy was laid out right in the document that you take advantage of natural divisions, if whether it's religious or ethnic or whatever, and they stoke up both sides. It was right in the document how to overthrow Iran. It was about stoking up the sides in the existing historical debate that was in the country, and then creating that sort of chaos. And there's your Luciferian doctrine: order out of chaos. You throw the country or the area or the region in turmoil, and then you have, I won't say moral authority, but you have rationale to come in with a heavy-handed uh, you know operation, and in the end the outcome that exists is the one that was originally planned. And yet the sides that are fighting, because these natural divisions have been played on, are fighting with the zeal of whatever these age-old hatreds are. So I think this is what's going on in Syria. Um, we had an expert today in church service, Sunday schools, adult Sunday school, who was a doctor in studies in the Middle East here, and he lived in with the Kurds for 15 years. And he was talking about the factions and the alignment of the factions and why the hatred's there and all this type of thing. And he was saying, yes, the Sunnis hate the Shia and the Shia hate the Sunnis and whatever. But I always go back to, you look at the Luciferian doctrines, you look at the mystery schools, you go all the way back to Egypt, and the Luciferian worship, and there's always a broader agenda. And I think these situations, these natural hatreds, get stoked up, and so they can participate in war, and then, while an area or region is trapped in war, some other objective is accomplished, and that certainly seems like what ISIS is being used for. Is they have the zeal of the Sunni caliphate that they're trying to um, foist onto the Middle East, and yet when it received that strong reaction from Iran, Shia, and Russia, who was worried about the pipeline that the Qataris were trying to, I think it was with Saudi Arabia, put into Syria to send natural gas up into Europe, competing with the Russian near monopoly on natural gas into Europe and you know, Turkey, Asia areas around there. That that was the hidden hand or the hidden agenda as to why it made all the sense in the world for the Saudis to really fund and support ISIS and some of the fronts there, and you know why there was a natural alignment and reaction coming from Russia and Iran. Iran seeing the Sunni invasion and the establishment of caliphate, which would be against the Shia, you know, Islamic desire to rule the world, and Russia using that again proxies as wanting to maintain their natural gas pipelines into the Middle East and into all of Europe. And so you see the objective that sits behind the stoking of the regional fears, regional division, and you know what a powerful one there with the Sunnis and the Shias, right? And so that was just a good reinforcement today that I got from a gentleman that presented at our church. It's along the lines of what we've been saying here from the get-go, but if you even step back from the financial aspect, the oil and the natural gas, we know the objective behind the objective is the Luciferian objective to bring forth their quote Messiah, and you know they use that philosophy order out of chaos as the way they accomplish this. And so you can see they're using the philosophies that came from you know the Rosicrucians and the Luciferians and the secret societies to accomplish these objectives that have the financial benefit of the oil and gas and all that, and the establishment of the banking system that you know stems all the way back from the Rothschilds and comes into the Federal Reserve, and then you know comes out of England actually and the Vatican to control the world financial system. So boy, isn't that just a snake pit? But you see it unleashing now in Syria. It's the gateway for Luciferians into attacking Israel. It's the gateway for the oil and natural gas. It's the gateway to what they just found there in the Golan, the huge deposits of oil and natural gas in the rest of Israel that they found. So, you know, talk about hook in the jaw from Ezekiel 38. It's just perfectly set up, at least in my way of thinking. So here we go, those things biblically. You know, U.S. to send nuclear-capable B-52s to bomb ISIS, and there's the boogeyman that was created, and again, leveraging natural division in the Arabs, and the Sunnis, the Shias, and then the non-Arabs up in Iran, leveraging those natural divisions, and they're stoking up this military campaign, which, you know, again is biblical. And so we've got, you know, our quick look we're going to take at Isaiah 17 and Jeremiah 49, and you know this could get into a bunch of them. Zechariah would fit in here, and all the rest of them. But I just wanted to get to sort of the main gist of this is it looks like we're on the brink. You got war planes capable of nuclear attack, and you got the Russian warships coming through the Bosphorus Straits, which is past Turkey, down, you know, out of into the Mediterranean there. And then one little tidbit, and somebody pointed this up, I can't remember if this was a video. Now this is an article saying that Jordan foiled an ISIS terror plot as Saudi Arabia calls for Syria's Arab neighbors to pick a side. And this article is sort of related to the other one that I heard today, which was Saudi Arabia is engineering uh, ISIS's access somehow into the Jordan, which it appears, you know, this is kind of the basis of it. Saudi Arabia calls for Syria's Arab neighbors to pick a side. Jordan foils ISIS terror plot. Uh, you can see the hand of Saudi Arabia moving ISIS around, and they're moving into Jordan. So you got big war coming, possible nuclear. Let me shut this off because I'm getting a feedback in my headset. Possible nuclear in Syria. Now the trick is we just heard about Jordan, and we know Iraq is in play as well. So let's take a look at this one now. In the next war, Hezbollah vows to invade Israel. And, long story short on this, that they're ready to fight an offensive war. Unlike the prior wars, they say now with the training in war that they've gotten in the efforts in Syria, they're ready to take on an offensive war against Israel. Ads. Hezbollah will bring the war to them. Israel's biggest concern over Hezbollah's experience in Syria is now that the experience to be offensive rather than defensive. The message was repeated by their sources with another article saying the resistance won't stay in Lebanon. It will reach the Galilee. It will not look like 2006 war at all. And that kind of was the thing that sort of tripped me over to wanting to do the video. So let's just look at Isaiah 17 here. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city. It shall be a ruinous heap. Now, we see B-52 bombers, and we see if you want to say the big guns of Russia now pouring through into the Mediterranean with all the equipment that's already there. We know that there's still training exercise going on by Saudi Arabia, up to, the reports were up to 350,000 troops on the border of Syria, and Turkey committing and actually sending, rebel fighters already across the border, but committing their tanks and their artillery right now, and they're shooting across the border, starting by killing the Kurds because they want to take out and control that Kurdish area that has been bothering them forever, but that's into Syria. Okay, so you got all that on all sides is the point. The cities of Aroer are forsaken. Where is that? That's just east across the Jordan from Jerusalem. Where is that? That's Jordan. We just got done talking about they're moving the boogeymen, ISIS, into Jordan. Saudi Arabia is telling the Arab neighbors, pick a side. What happens if they pick wrong? Jordan becomes part of, Jordan will become the place where the ISIS fighters go, that then Russia, US, whoever that's fighting, quote, ISIS is going to have to bring troops. The battle would have to go into Jordan at that point, wouldn't it? That's exactly what happened in Syria. The boogeyman ISIS came down, started in Turkey, came down into Syria. Everybody had to go fight ISIS, and even those 50,000 of them. And you've got all sorts of heavy artillery, all sorts of troops, special forces, everybody's in there. They supposedly just can't be defeated. And then they moved into Iraq, and the U.S. troops came back into Iraq and fighting for some of the old Fallujah and some of the old cities that we heard of from the Iraq War. So here we see the cities of Ar are forsaken, Jordan, just across the Jordan River in Jordan. The fortresses shall also cease from Ephraim. Where is Ephraim? Ephraim was the name euphemistically for the 10 northern tribes. Now it could just be Ephraim, but it's frequently used in the Old Testament as the 10 northern tribe areas. So you got the northern part, of Israel. You got basically, if you go north of Jerusalem, draw a line from what we just talked about, the cities of Aor, across over just north of Jerusalem. You've got the land of the northern tribes up there. The fortresses shall cease from Ephraim, the kingdom from Damascus, and that Damascus is still surrounded right now, and the remnant of Syria. They shall be as for the glory of the children of Israel. And now here's where we get the indication of who actually drops the big one onto Damascus. It's the children of Israel, but we also know that the fortresses will cease from Ephraim. So it looks like a strike counter-strike, Damascus being taken out, and then something happens to northern Israel. And it shall be as when the harvestman gathereth corn and reapeth the ears with his arm, and it shall be gathered ears in the valley of Rephaim. And that's down in central Israel, if I remember right. Okay, we'll stop there. Behold, at eventide trouble, before morning he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us, and a lot of them that rob us. So it sure seems like whatever happens, it's probably nuclear, or it's severely heavy bombardment, but it's probably nuclear, which is now what we see pouring into Syria. Now, we did Jeremiah 49 before, and this one I always say, let's be a little careful, because there was a, quote, near fulfillment back in the day when Nebuchadnezzar came through all these areas, Syria all the way down into Egypt and whatever, and but yet there's little indicators in here, and we won't redo that study, that would speak to a more complete fulfillment in some other space and time. And let's come on down to the Damascus portion here. In 23, concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings, and they are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea, it can't be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, turneth to flee. Fear has seized her, anguish, sorrows have taken her, as a woman in travail. And there's one of those indicators that phraseology, much like the day of the Lord, is typically associated with the birth pangs of bringing forth the Messiah. And so that's why I think these passages are probably in play here, even though, again, Damascus was taken but not destroyed at the time of Nebuchadnezzar, if I remember right. Or it may have been the Assyrian army, and I'm sorry, I can't remember at this point which one of those actually hit Damascus. But there was a near fulfillment back in the day. I guess if it was one of the Assyria conquests, that would be before Jeremiah's time. So if that's the case, maybe that would make this all prophetic. But okay, check that thought. Harmath and Arpad, and we already looked at that. We're up by Aleppo, and then we're halfway between Damascus and Aleppo right here. And isn't that exactly what we're seeing? Aleppo is surrounded. And so I could see these all being fulfilled. Now, I rolled back a little bit, and I was restudying some of the prior verses, and I just picked up, because we know what Saudi Arabia is up to, and we know that Saudi Arabia is actually battling in Yemen proxy forces of Iran, Sunni Shia again, and in Yemen that's happening. And there was some reference here you go, flee, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, I will bring calamity of Esau upon him. Now, Dedan, if you're in Saudi Arabia, if the region of Dedan, and you've got 350,000 troops, or hundreds of thousands, let's just say, based on whatever report you want, they're intending to go into this battle in Syria. This could apply. Flee, ye turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. I will bring calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. If grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, will they destroy till they have enough? Now, again, what would compel me to want to say there wasn't the prior fulfillment? Because certainly most of the lands of Esau is barren. The cities of Basra, which are pointed to in here, are mostly barren. Why could this be a future yet fulfillment? And that goes back into Ezekiel 38. You got Sheba and Dedan just complaining when they see Russia with Iran coming into Israel. And there's a loose alliance there between Israel and Saudi Arabia right now. The Israelis are worried about Iran, and the Saudi Arabia is worried about Iran, because of the boasting of the nuclear capability of Iran and the backing of Russia. And so you can see where if Saudi Arabia has 350,000 people at the border, they want to participate into this war in Syria, take out Bashar al-Assad, and yet you've got Russia and the US with nuclear capable hardware coming in there right now, right as we speak. It's entering the region. Would that be, unfortunately, the destruction maybe of the Saudi army because they're intending to participate in this? And the Saudi army didn't fare well down in Yemen. It's battling to a stalemate, the Saudi army against the rebels. And so now they're piling most of their troops up here against Syria. And, would they fare any better up against the Russian, Iranian armies? And, they'll say, well, NATO's got to go in first. And yes, we do have the B-52s coming over there. But I just think biblically, this could all be shaping up right now. I mean, the big guns are coming into Syria. Jordan's being set up as they either get on board or ISIS is going to come into the border, leaving the excuse for the rest of the combatants to go battle ISIS, just the way it happened in Syria, just the way it happened in Iraq. It'll happen again in Jordan if they don't choose correctly. And we know from prophecy something goes wrong, because at the time that Damascus is taken, very likely the cities of Aor also go down, and the northern part of Israel. So we've got everything swirling and cooking right now, and I guess I would just because it's in the Bible, you got to say this must be God's will. So you want to pray for the peace of Israel, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, the end target to what most of this is going to be. And we do, and we want to bless the children of Israel. Lord, protect them as we see these days approaching. But we pray for the Lord's will to be done. And we know prophetically from his word, he's bringing, and in part this is judgment, to bring forth the Messiah, to shake people up, to bring forth the Messiah. So let's pray for the Lord's will to be done, even if it seems contrary, to also pray for the peace of Israel and Jerusalem, but definitely praying for the protection of God's people in the land is never in conflict. So I'll leave you there, saints. It just seems like we're going home any time now. I mean, it doesn't take dreams and visions and whatever, which people are having all over the place, to confirm the time is short. Scripture is unfolding right before our eyes. God bless. Hope to see everybody real soon.